also get your comments and impressions of our candidates. Along those lines, this afternoon you will be asked to supply the questions. We got to ask our questions in the formal interview. So this afternoon you will be asked to supply the questions, and we ask that you write your questions down on a 3x5 card and give them to Dave Gare. And Dave has blank cards too. If you need one, just raise your hand and he can give you a blank card. And then he's collecting the questions. And we have Dave collect the questions and ask them so that we can make sure they're screened a little bit to make sure we don't ask anything that's illegal or legally improper. I shouldn't say illegal, but that maybe not be legally proper to ask. And so Dave got some tutoring from Lance Harmon earlier today about what to look for in the questions to make sure we don't ask anything that's not right. And so Dave is going to be asking all of the questions. Those cards also help him keep within the proper time frame because we have an hour for these questions. And so Dave will be asking all of those. Please listen in to Michael's responses to your questions, and you should all have a yellow score sheet with the names of all the candidates on them. Please score the candidates. Keep your sheet with you through the entire process of all of the 6 candidates if you can. Whenever you're done sitting in on the interviews, as in you don't have the opportunity to sit in on any more of them, please hand in your score sheet to a board member. And there are several of us hanging around. There's John Kaiser over there, there's Ed Mosier here, Kevin is there, Carol is here, and of course me. Just hand in your score sheets to any of us. And at the end of the entire process on Thursday, we're going to gather all the score sheets. And then we are going to review the score sheets and your comments. And please write comments on the back if you would like. We're going to review your scores, the comments, all the score sheets, take those under consideration. And then we as a board are going to go into executive session on February the 2nd after our regularly scheduled study session. And at that time, we are going to look at score sheets, comments. We are going to deliberate on people's impressions of the candidates and our impression of the candidates. And then it is the Board of Trustees' responsibility to ultimately choose who will be the interim president of the college. On February 2nd, we will either choose a person and offer that person the position, or we will decide as a board to start the process all over again. So you'll hear about that on February 2nd. With that, I'm ready to turn it over to Dave.
Hey, Michael, your first question is this. Over the past 5 years, enrollment in LCCC has grown by 15%. In several areas, including instruction, the number of employees has not kept pace. What strategies would you use to address this issue?
Can everybody hear me? I need to use a microphone. Okay. Anybody can't hear me? I need to use a microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think what we need to do as an institution is look at class sizes and all of that, but sit down with the faculty and the staff. Not only do you have growth that affects instruction, but you have growth that affects other areas, support areas. And I think you have to sit down and look at what we can do to maintain the class sizes that we want to have. And faculty have great ideas, and I think you have to engage them and work with them and hear their ideas and come up with a plan. Usually that costs money, and so you have to figure out where you're going to get that money. One of the things with increased enrollment, you have increased tuition, so there are some funds coming in. But I would sit down, as an institution, we need to sit down and have good discussions on how do we meet that need. That's been a need, for almost 10 years now.
Wyoming Community College presidents sit on the executive council of the Wyoming Community College Commission. How would you balance advocating for the needs of LCCC with supporting the interests of the statewide community college system?
Well, I think when when the system is vibrant and working correctly, LCCC benefits from that. I think we need to look at what's going on the statewide level and be a part of that, work with the commission, and help influence the directions that the state is going.
What is your philosophy of how to promote a fast-growing branch campus?
You know, Albany County campus, and I'm sure that's who they're referring to, it has grown so much. Living in Laramie, I see the parking lot overflowing. I've been on campus several times, and you just can't find a classroom to be in. I think there has to be a short-range plan to figure out where we're going to put all of the students. And then there needs to be a long-range plan on what we're going to do for the building out there. We're going to add to it, we're going to build another, what needs to be done. And so you have to have a master plan to do that.
What new initiatives would you propose as interim president for LCCC?
Well, in my interview before, that was one of the questions I asked, and they're not looking for the interim president to perform or to do a lot of new initiatives. But what I think we need to do is begin to look at where the college is, where it needs to go as far as physical space. Probably the first thing that I think we need to do as an initiative is work on communication and trust. Everything that I've been able to read says that that's a real issue.
How do you view the role of educational services staff, non-administrators and non-faculty in the decision-making process?
I believe that they're just another part of that process. You've got your faculty, you've got your staff, you've got your administrators, and you need to get input from everybody. You need to get, everybody has great ideas. Some ideas need to be tweaked a little bit, but you're here because you want to be here. You're here because this is an institution that you want to be a part of. And so you've got ideas, and we just need to incorporate those. We need to communicate with people, bring those ideas in to the discussion process, how people feel that they can offer ideas, and they will be listened to. They will be considered, and they will be part of the process.
You have met with a couple of employees to attempt to fix a conflict, and it resulted in an agreement. As a result, however, retaliation occurred. How would you handle the situation?
Well, I think you immediately call them in and confront the issue. You don't let it drag on. You sit down with them, you talk about how this is not an acceptable course of action, and then you see if you can get agreement from the two employees. If it continues, then I think you have to do the progressive discipline and work with them. But that's a last resort. As a college, we spend a lot of money recruiting, training people, the new employee learning what's going on campus, becoming very productive. And termination is something that is just, I don't like it. It's a last resort, and I think you have to work with the people. Most people want to improve their working environment.
How do you build trust within the institution?
You begin by talking. You begin by having open meetings. You begin by communicating. And words don't mean a lot until people begin to know that, hey, they really want to know what I'm saying. I'm not going to be terminated. I'm not going to be put in a stressful situation because I offered my opinion. And so my idea is that you begin to communicate with people, and you don't just have one open meeting. You have a lot of meetings. You have a lot of smaller groups. You meet with those groups, and you begin to develop that trust because they know you're really there for them. You really want to do the best thing for the college. when I've experienced that, I haven't gotten my way all the time. But because I was in a situation where my boss wanted me to communicate with him, to tell him my ideas, I felt good about it. He didn't like it, that was okay. But he listened to me, and I feel that that's the way the president has to do it. Has to listen to people, has to incorporate those ideas into the college.
What do you understand the role of the interim president to be and the board expectations? How will this role differ from that of the permanent president?
Well, I asked that question in my interview before, and my understanding is that the interim president won't really create new initiatives, won't be doing new projects, but building trust, building communication, working with faculty, staff, and students, taking care of the day-to-day activities. There are some projects that are being done. There's a job description, organizational structures, and things that are in the works now that they want to complete. But I think that's a good way. I think that from what I can read and from what I can hear from talking to people, you're telling me it's the trust, it's the communication, it's being in an environment where you can say what you feel and feeling good about it, not fearful.
You may have heard that the Board of Trustees has ordered an organizational audit. Please provide your views and comments on implementing organizational restructuring. How would you handle the tough personnel decisions that are recommended from the audit?
Well, I've been through this twice when I was at UW, and it is an extremely stressful period of time for everybody. The more open you can be, the more transparent, the more you can include people in the process so they're a part of it, and they know what's going on, and they understand why the decisions are being made. I think you're much better off there. But it takes a lot of communication. Everybody's fearful for their job. They're fearful for what's going to happen. Who's going to be my supervisor? Am I going to have a job? Where am I going? Am I going to be doing something differently? I think it's very important to communicate and how people feel a part of the process rather than the process being imposed on them.
What approach will you take to interact and be involved with the student body?
I would want to have regular meetings, open meetings with the students. When I worked here before, I used to meet with ASG on a regular basis, at least once a semester. I think the president needs to meet with the student government once a week, once a month. But you need to have that open forum where students can stop in the hallway, students can come to a meeting and express how they're feeling.
Given that this is a temporary interim position, why are you interested in this position?
When I left LCCC, I left the best job that I ever had. I really like this college. I really like the people here, and I want to come back and give back to the college. And I think I can help with the communication, with being a facilitator, working with faculty, staff, and students, until you have a new full-time president.
What would you do as interim president to increase the morale on campus and improve the image of LCCC in the public?
That's a good question. I would start by having meetings with all of the divisions, with all of the groups and committees on campus, having open meetings, begin to create an environment of communication and people feeling like their ideas are important and we want to hear those. I think the image of the college is a good image. I think the community sees the college as a great educational institution, outstanding faculty, their kids are coming here and learning. There's a few areas that image needs to be more open and transparent. And I think if you start to create that open and transparency, the rest of it will follow. I opened up the newspaper this morning and the editorial about this open process and commending the board for doing that. And that's all part of creating a very positive image.
What do you see as the role of a developmental education program here at LCCC? And do you envision any changes in that program?
Well, the developmental program, reading and writing and math, unfortunately, the students that are coming from the high schools need some remedial assistance. And so I think it's important that we do that to bring these students up to speed so that they can take the classes and be fully participating in them. Changes that I see in that, I don't know enough about it, where it is today, to make a decision there. But if there are areas that need to be changed, or faculty or staff feel there are, that's something that I would entertain and we need to talk about.
LCCC, as all colleges do, have some academic programs with low enrollment and low graduation rates. What support would you, as the interim president, offer to encourage growth in these programs?
I think we can look at marketing, we can look at instructors going into the high school, things that are already being done. I think you have to look at that low enrollment and decide, why is there low enrollment? Is it because we haven't been concentrating on that as far as recruiting? Is it that there's no desire for it? And then make your decisions from that. I would provide, I want to see people successful. I would provide as much support as I could, both personally and financially, to accomplish that, so that we could raise the level in that area, so that students would come here rather than go to some other institution.
What is your style in dealing with employee personality conflicts?
Well, my style is to bring in both sides and talk to each one individually, and then bring them in together and work out a plan. Is it easy? No. Does it always work? No. But I think you give the employees want to be in a good situation. And sometimes they just get, can't think of the word, they run into a problem working with somebody. And I think if you call them in and sit them down and get the information out and talk about it, both sides understand where they're coming from, and many times it results in they figure out how to do it. Because that's what you really want.
Please tell us about an original idea of yours that you were able to implement successfully.
Well, one of the things that we did when I came to campus, we wanted to put in wireless communication. And my staff was all in favor of it, but my boss wasn't. Thought it was a waste of money. The students at LCCC really don't have laptops. And he said, but it's your choice, go ahead. And my boss was the president. And so we went ahead and put in the wireless, and it was really kind of a field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And students now, you see them all over campus with the laptops. So,
how will you organize a $60 million budget?
well, I think there's, the college has gone through a budgeting process, and you have a budget. I think you have to work with the campus each year and find out where are the needs, and that needs to be done in an open and a transparent method. You need to find out where do we need to put our funds, and funds are limited. And so you can find out ways to increase funding. Going to the legislature is a long process. Increased enrollment brings in costs of its own. And so you really have to work at how do you take the budget that we have and make it go as far as possible. Everybody has an idea, and they're good ideas. And I think I heard that you folks have gone to zero-based budgeting. You know, I would be interested to know how that worked. I've seen it work really well in some organizations, and others, they actually ended up with the same budget within a few dollars that they started with. So I'd be interested in knowing how that came out. But that's part of a whole process of learning from the people that best know it, and including the people that have an opinion about how the money ought to be spent.
What do you believe about your experience, knowledge, and skills make you the best candidate for this position?
Well, I worked in higher education all my life. I have a master's in business administration, so I have the business side, I have the support side. I've worked with faculty my whole career, and I just feel like my passion for LCCC, my experience in knowing the college, I can come in and be a good interim president, a facilitator, someone that can help the campus move forward. Not that I'm going to have the answers, but I know that you guys working together with me would come up with the answers.
Give us an example of a time when you led a group of campus organizations with diverse opinions, but with the same goal. How did you bring them together, and what was the result?
When I worked at the University of Wyoming, in our support group, we had 4 different groups. And each group had a different area of the support. And the desire was to merge those together into one organization where each of the consultants could do all 4 areas. And so, can you hear me? Okay. I was cutting in and out. So we brought everybody together in the 4 groups, and there's a lot of stress. But we got everybody talking. We said, this is the goal. How can we reach that goal? They came up with good ideas, and it took us about 6 months, but we merged the 4 groups totally. In any kind of change, you have those people that are on board right away and are very excited about it. You have those that dig their feet in and don't want to experience change. But we worked through it, and we came up with a good team approach to the new organization, and the employees were pleased at the end. Even the ones that dug their feet in said, I'm not sure I still agree with this, but I was part of it. You listened to me, and let's move forward.
LCCC utilizes the Academic Quality Improvement Program, or AQIP, to maintain its accreditation with the Higher Learning Commission. Discuss your familiarity with the AQIP process.
Before I left, I was on the AQIP committee, and a part of that. So I'm familiar with it. I know what it's about. Where we are now, I don't know that yet. And I'd like to find out more about that. My opinion is that that's a much better way to do it than the once every 10 years doing a self-study, great ideas, great thoughts, you get accredited, it goes on the shelf, and 10 years later you do it again. This is a continuous process, and I'm, on the surface, I'm very much in favor of that.
If you were the successful candidate, what do you hope to accomplish during your interim appointment, and what is your first priority?
From what I can read, what I would like to accomplish is communication among the campus. Communication with administrators, communication within departments, building of trust, so that the permanent president, when he or she comes in, doesn't have to deal with the age-old communication problem. They come in and people are talking, people are participating, people are engaged and involved in this campus. So that would be my top priority, would be to communication and trust.
Funny you should say communication, because that's what your next question is about. In light of your focus on communication, could you comment about the role that policies, procedures, and the consistent application of these have to do with trust and clarity of goals?
Well, if you're not consistent with your policies and procedures, then people don't know the boundaries. They don't know how to interpret what they're doing. Am I doing the right thing or not? So I think you have to be very consistent with that. I think to have rules and regulations are important so people know what's going on, but sometimes we get to the point of having too many rules and regulations when it's one or two people doing it and common sense says, this is how we should do it. But they're important.
Academic programs of study are offered under both the Vice President of Instruction and the Vice President of Workforce and Community Development. How would you ensure academic quality and integrity, consistency, and communication across these two areas with this organizational structure?
I think you have to have the same policies, the same procedure in both areas. If you're going to do a program review, the program review needs to be the same in both areas. And I think you have to have the two vice presidents working very closely together so that you do have consistency, you do have a good evaluation process that everybody uses and everybody is comfortable with. And I think if there's problems, again, you get the groups together and you talk about it and you find out what is the problem, what can we do to correct it, and then move forward with that.
What is most important to keep students happy and satisfied on campus?
Give them all A's. You know, for the most part, I think if you walk down the hallway and ask the students if they're happy or if they're pleased, yes, you know, I've got a bad instructor, or you know, I love my dorm, or I don't like my roommate. But you want to include the students. You want to make sure that they feel included. When LCCC put in athletics, and I would walk down the hall or be in the gym and you'd talk to somebody, well, did you go to the basketball game? Oh no, I wouldn't go to that. I don't like basketball. Well, do you think we ought to have a basketball program here? Absolutely. I want to read about it Monday morning and find out how they did. That's my school. So you can find out a lot about what the students want by just asking them, by communicating with them.
Are there any other questions that I have not picked up yet? Okay, that's all the questions that we have from the audience. Thank you very much, Michael.
And thank you very much.